As somebody with a full-time job and a couple of YouTube channels, I'm always looking for things that I can do to make the process of making my videos and my podcasts faster with less time done in pre-production and post-production. Today, I want to talk about post-production using the sponsor of today's video, Riverside, because there's some features that Riverside has that has saved me ridiculous amounts of time. And you know, I don't feel like I'm being hyperbolic when I say there are some features on Riverside that have saved episodes of my podcast, and those are the features that I want to talk about today. And I say this as somebody who has been using Riverside for a very long time, long before they decided to sponsor any of my videos. So I'm here to tell you I'm a huge fan of the platform and what they're doing over there. And today I want to show you some of the features that they have that will make your post-production and even the recording process itself incredibly easy. So let's jump in. I've used a lot of other remote recording software solutions in the past, and one thing that they almost all have in common is that they run on my local machine, which is fine, except that means that there's a couple of disadvantages. Disadvantage number one is I don't have an individual recording of every single person's camera and every single person's microphone separately, so that I can edit those in post to make them better. And another reason that that's a big disadvantage is because the recording is happening after their information has been sent to me. So that means if you've ever been on a Discord call or on Google Meet or Zoom or any of those other things like Skype, you know that when you are having that conversation with somebody, it just doesn't look as good as it would be if it were recorded locally. So what would usually happen is my camera would look great because I'm recording my stuff locally, but everybody else just doesn't look as good because all of their stuff is compressed before it's sent to me and then recorded. So all of that compression gets baked into the recording, and there's nothing that you can really do about it to fix it. But because Riverside records each and every individual guest's camera and audio locally on their computer without them having to know how to do anything before it gets sent to Riverside, that means that I get complete control over everything that gets recorded in post, and I can fix issues that have come up. Not only that, but because all of the recording is happening separately from the streaming to each other, that means that if somebody's having data issues, that you can turn on what's called low data mode. I'll give you a perfect example. Yesterday, we sat down and recorded my podcast, the Nerd Nest podcast, and one of our co-hosts was in Hawaii. Now, most of the time, everything is fine, but for some reason yesterday, he was stuttering and freezing, and we couldn't understand what he was saying, and there was a lot of delay between when I would say something to him and he would be able to respond. And so I saved that episode and saved a lot of time by turning on low data mode, which shut off everybody's cameras. Then it recorded locally and put everything back together afterwards, and it saved the episode. Another huge advantage that Riverside has over the other recording stuff is they have some built-in audio fixing magic. They call it Magic Audio, and I'm going to show you how to use that right now. So here you can see the latest episode, episode 51 of the podcast. We recorded it yesterday, and I'm just going to go in here to the edit page. I'm going to create a brand new edit, and it's going to take a second to load everybody's stuff in. And you'll see like the waveform will load down here on the bottom. The transcript is going to show up here on the side. And one thing that I noticed is that one of our co-hosts, his microphone is a little bit more sensitive than everybody else's, and so it picks up a lot of stuff that's happening in the background. And what you can do when that happens is I can come over here to tracks, and I can go down to Carrie, and I can say, all right, Carrie, well, your audio doesn't sound as good as everybody else's, so I'm going to enhance this track's audio by clicking on Magic Audio. You can do this on a track by track basis, or you can do it to the whole show. I'm just going to turn it on for Carrie, and it's going to take a few minutes. It's going to go through, it's going to clean up Carrie's audio and just make it sound better than it did before. So another magic tool that they have is silence detection. It's actually called Set Pace here on Riverside, and it removes pauses and improves the conversation flow. Now, most of the time, I don't use this. However, in this episode, we were dealing with that huge delay where I would ask Russ a question, and because he's in Hawaii and he was having some kind of internet issues, there was a massive delay to where at one point I was like, did he hear me? I wasn't sure if he was still on the call or not. Check this out. I'm going to click on this button right here, and this leaves all of the pauses in, which is normally what I do, but I'm going to go ahead and set it to 1. And that means any pause that's 3 seconds or more is going to automatically get removed. And if you look at this, this is going to remove 9 pauses that happened in my show. And that's going to remove 31 seconds. That's 31 and a half seconds of silence that's going to be completely removed from the show, because nobody wants to be listening to a podcast or watching a podcast and just have dead air. And because of the internet issues that we were having, I'm able to do this and kind of fix it in spite of the internet issues that we were having. Now I can go for a more aggressive approach and get rid of anything that's 1.5 seconds or more. I think that is going to give me some false positives. I mean, look, it's removing 5 minutes of content from the show, 147 pauses. I can increase this or decrease this down to 1 second or more. It's going to remove 10 minutes from the podcast. And if I remove all pauses, it will remove 30 minutes from the podcast. Now, listen, you can go through and remove all of your pauses. It's going to make you sound like a robot. It's not going to be a good experience for your listeners. So I would highly recommend that you don't just go and get rid of all the pauses because you want to make sure that you are getting your point across as fast as possible, because guess what? That's not how people talk. People talk and leave pauses between the words that they're saying because it helps them emphasize points. So I'm going to get this down to natural. It's going to remove any, and I'm going to hit apply. If I hit the show deleted text, you can see down here on the bottom that my timeline actually gets a little bit shorter. And the reason it's getting shorter is because it's removing those pauses that were in there. The next feature that has saved me tons of time of trying to scrub through an episode of the podcast is the search feature. Because Riverside transcribes every single thing that is said by you during the show, you can then search for keywords that you use anytime that you need to find something specifically in the show. So, for example, we have a keyword that we say anytime we want something cut out. That keyword is fuzzy boots. And so anytime anybody decides, oh, you know what, why don't we cut that part out of the show? We just say fuzzy boots. So then when I'm sitting down to edit the show, I go into my little search button here and I'm going to type in fuzzy boots and I hit enter. And we can see that at this point right here, I said fuzzy boots. Now, the reason that I'm saying that is because Russ was getting a bunch of latency and he was talking over everybody, and we were like trying to solve that problem in the moment. I'm going to go back just a little bit, and I want to see where Russ started talking about this. So let me just hit play. Right, and this solves all of those problems all at the same time. And I'm going to pause right there. Now, if I click on this split icon right down here, it's going to split the track. And then I'm going to jump forward to the next time that Russ, goes to talk, but he's no longer experiencing the lag because I turned on low data mode. So I'm going to scroll down here, and I can see that I didn't mean to get rid of that. Okay, so here Russ is talking about this. This is after we've turned on low data mode and solved the problem. So right here,
I had a point about Xbox 360 emulation. We were talking.
So right before this, I'm gonna switch it over to low data. He's saying. All right. And then I'm going to hit split right there. And now I've got the before clip, the part that I'm cutting out, and then the after. And all I got to do is select that clip and hit delete. And now it's gone. So it seems like we didn't have an issue at all. So I'm going to hit play. Right, and this solves all of those problems all at the same time.
So I had a point about Xbox 360.
This has saved me so much time, because before what I would do is I would have to sit through and scrub through the entire episode. Did that happen kind of in the beginning? Was it in the middle? Was it near the end? I can't remember. I got to watch the whole damn thing. And as much as I love the podcast, I don't want to watch the whole thing after I was there for the whole thing. You know what I mean? So this has saved ridiculous amounts of time. So I'm a huge fan of this feature. Next up are chapters. Chapters are incredibly powerful on YouTube, because when a person is watching your video or your podcast and you're talking about a topic that they might be only a little bit interested in, but they like your podcast as a whole, and they're trying to decide, do I want to finish watching this episode, or do I want to try and find something else to watch? Well, if you don't have chapters, that they don't know what's coming up next. And so they might just decide, you know what, I'm done with this episode, and then they just close it and find something else to watch. But if you have chapters, then they can look on the bottom and they can say, oh, they're going to be talking about this topic in like 2 minutes. I'm just going to fast forward to that part right there. And somebody might think that that's a bad thing, because now they're skipping parts of your show. But the alternative is that they stopped watching your show altogether. So chapters can really increase the audience retention by making sure that you have them. And Riverside automatically detects through your transcript when you've stopped talking about one topic and started talking about another one. And it's, first off, when it first came out, this was kind of a bad feature, but man, oh man, Riverside has improved this so much in recent days. Let me show you how you can use it. So if you look down here along in the timeline, you can see a bunch of chapters, and those chapters were generated automatically. I didn't have to go through and do that. And one thing that I will say is that Riverside chapters are very verbose. Like, they use lots and lots of words. They use 30 words when they could have used 5. You know what I mean? But you're not stuck with the chapters that they give you. If I want to, I can come down here and it says introduction and rumors of Microsoft bringing other stores on Xbox. That is absolutely what we were talking about in this section, but I think that that's way too much information. So I'm going to click on the little 3-dot menu. I'm going to hit rename, and I'm going to change this to Can Microsoft Beat Valve to the Punch? And I'm going to hit enter. And now it just changed that chapter marker. Now, if you look here, we've got the next chapter marker, and it says Xbox as a set-top box PC. And that's still kind of the same topic. I don't like having too many chapters in my videos. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to click on the 3-dot menu, and I'm going to just remove that entire chapter. Now, that doesn't remove the content. It just removes the chapter marker, and it makes this one big chapter instead of 2 smaller chapters that are kind of about the same thing. So I can go through and do that for all of my chapters, or maybe I decided, you know what, this chapter really started about over here instead, so I can drag it to the left, or I can drag it to the right, and I can change where those chapters start and stop. So I've gone through and I've trimmed out anything that I didn't actually want in the final episode. I've had Riverside name the chapters, I've renamed them and shuffled them around just a little bit, and now it's time to export my show. And there's a couple things that Riverside has done that have made exporting my show easier for me, because I do both a video version of the podcast and an audio version of the podcast. And now it's much easier. So I'm going to go ahead and hit export. And right now, video quality, always do it at 4K. And here's the reason. If you are uploading your video and it has a resolution that is higher than 1440p, YouTube gives you a higher quality encoder so your video looks better. So if you recorded it at 1080p, you upscale it to 4K and then send it to YouTube, it will look better than if you recorded at 1080p and then just send them the 1080p video feed. So my recommendation is always upscale to 4K. I'm going to hit normalize audio levels. That means that everybody's audio is going to be even, so the people who are watching or listening to the show don't have to turn it up and turn it down based on who's talking. So I always hit that. And I'm going to remove background audio noise. So if there's some fans in the background or something like that, all that stuff is going to get cut out. And I'm going to hit export video. And it's going to say, okay, we're working on that right now. What do you want to do? I'm going to say keep editing. And the reason why I want to keep editing is it's going to reload that exact same show. And then I'm going to hit export again. This time I'm going to go to audio. I'm going to switch that over to MP3, normalize my audio, remove my background noises, and export audio. So now I have an audio version of the podcast and I have a video version of the podcast. But this next feature is something that I absolutely love, because one of the things that I despise about making YouTube videos is filling out the description. The reason I don't like doing it is because most people, they really just don't care about the description. That being said, YouTube looks at the things that you say in the description, looks at the things that you say in the video, looks at the title of the video, looks at the name of the video, and it takes all of that stuff together to try and decide who is this video for? Who are we going to put this in front of? And I never liked doing the description. Well, now I don't have to, because Riverside can do the description for me. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go back and look at my exports. And if you look down here, right here, I have let AI write my show notes, and I'm going to go ahead and hit generate show notes. And it's just going to take a minute. It's going to look at the transcript, and it's going to give me a bunch of information about what we said, and it's going to put that in my show notes. But here's the issue, is this is looking at the entire recording. Now, I just cut some stuff out, and if I'm cutting some stuff out, then all of my show notes are going to be, well, not all of my show notes, but parts of my show notes are going to be wrong. My chapter markers are going to be wrong because I cut some stuff out. So I don't actually use this generate my AI show notes on this screen. I use it on this screen down here, because now you can generate your AI show notes both before and after you edit. So I'm not actually going to use this. I'm going to wait until this is done exporting, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like to generate those AI show notes. And as you can see, that they are actually broken into sections, and each section has its own copy button, which is really useful, because if I copied the whole thing and put it in the description of my video, first off, it's going to be too many characters, and YouTube is going to yell at you about that, and they'll say, well, you got to get rid of some of this. So generally what I will do is I will copy the summary, and I will copy the chapters, and I will put that in the description. That's the thing that you see down below the like button on any video. I'll put that stuff in the description. For the sound bites, the titles, and the takeaways, I use that to give me ideas for what I want to use as my title and possibly my thumbnail if I didn't make that stuff ahead of time. That's where I look for ideas there. And then the keywords, I do copy that and I paste it into the keywords on YouTube. Now, there's a lot of people who will say that keywords are really important on YouTube, and there will be people who say that they don't help at all on YouTube. But here's the thing. If I have to sit down and come up with the keywords myself, I'm not going to do it, because I really don't think that there's a very good return on your investment in time there. That being said, if Riverside's going to generate the keywords for me automatically, and all I have to do is click copy and paste, then there's really no downside to me including that in my YouTube videos. And these are just a couple of the reasons that I would be using Riverside even if they weren't sponsoring this video. In fact, if you want to see a complete walkthrough from beginning to end of how I make my podcast, my video podcast, check out this video right here. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you on the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.